Welcome to the Prodigy Project Podcast. I'm your host and founder, Trey Meagher. In this podcast, we explore stories of resilience, transformation, and overcoming adversity as we inspire you to overcome life's challenges and become the best version of yourself. We hope that by sharing our vulnerabilities and life experiences, you develop the strength and courage to rise up. Our goal with this platform is for you to know that you are not alone in this battle that you are facing, and that you have a community that supports and surrounds you at all times. So join us as we explore what it means to be truly resilient. Today, my guest is Nate Fagen. Nate is 20 years old from Jacksonville, Florida. Today, we are going to discuss his story of resilience and transformation, as he discusses with us his current situation dealing with epilepsy, getting brain surgery in a few weeks, and the mental struggles that go along with enduring a battle like this. I think it'd be really cool if you talked about, what you're going through, and we can share on the screen Nate's experiences through what he's dealing with right now on his social media, and if you can talk about what you're going through, but not just what you're going through, what you're doing to build resilience with yourself and how you're sharing your experience to not have it's not about self-pity. It's not, oh, I'm going through this. You're saying I'm going through this. This sucks. This is hard. And I'm going to show you that you can rise up and that you can still develop strength, even though I'm going through this horrible experience.
First off, Trey, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on this. It's an honor to be a part of this, and I just can't wait to see where this goes. What I've been going through recently, I have epilepsy. I've had it since I was 6 years old. I had a brain abscess at that point, which is just like a little thing they had to remove in my brain that was causing seizures. They removed that, seizure-free for a long time, and I had two more when I was 15 years old. Put me on medication, just a low dose. Didn't think much of it for years. I thought I was fine. And then my freshman year of college, I suffered two severe seizures and forced me to have to move back home away from all my friends, unable to drive, and also put on some brutal medication. So I lost a lot of strength. I lost my mind a couple times pretty much. And it like destroyed my skin, which was a huge insecurity. Like my skin is still a little bit jacked up a lot of times, but like before I do, it was like bulging out and it was so bad. Really, really suffering in 2023, just with medication, seizures, all of that. And through that period, I had to learn that suffering wasn't going to keep me from being fulfilled. It was actually the exact opposite, and it was necessary for fulfillment, because if you don't go through anything hard, you're not going to grow in life. So I had to learn that by going through these difficult things, by learning who I was becoming the person God wanted me to be. So through that time period, I just really went on a journey of self-discovery, and I found that this suffering is not only meant to make me stronger, but it's also meant to strengthen other people. It's a gift for me to share with other people. So I went through a lot of 2023 seizure-free. I then had one more in August, which was difficult. But then went through another period where I was fine. And then back in February, I suffered two more pretty bad seizures out of nowhere. And the doctors officially gave me medication-resistant epilepsy, which is an extremely rare form of epilepsy, which they usually give to people after they have two medications that fail. I've had 6 medications that haven't worked. So they gave me that, and they determined that the next best option was to do a medically induced medically induced seizure with an EEG, which is where they put electrodes on the top of your head and they measure brain waves and all that, and then do a surgery to remove that tissue in the brain. So I did that at the beginning of April. Hardest experience I've ever had. I was sleep deprived, taken off my meds, strapped to a bed, all alone for a lot of the time, just waiting for a seizure to happen. And to describe what a seizure is like to somebody who's never had one, really difficult. It's like the scariest moments of my life. And knowing that I'm going to have one was really, really hard, especially on 3 hours of sleep a night. So through that time period, I had to learn what I was made of. I had to learn that I had to push through. I have to accept my outside circumstances, but also not accept self-pity or anything like that. So the hardest moment of my life, but overcoming that has proven to me that I'm capable of doing anything. Um, and then recently, last week, I found out they didn't get the results they wanted. So they have to do an SEEG, which is an even more invasive form of that. So they're going to be operating on my brain. So that means they have to shave my head. They put the electrodes inside my brain. And then they induce another seizure. So more sleep deprivation, strapped to a bed, no meds, all of that. Um, so knowing I've got to go through the hardest experience of my life again, but even worse, oh boy, sounds like a lot of fun. So I've been struggling with that, but then again, I've also learned that if I can do this once, I can do it twice. And I've seen the amount of people I've inspired through it, and it's truly incredible, and it's a motivator because I know not only am I not going to quit for myself, but I'm also not going to quit for that guy who's in the same position as me, who's needs someone to relate to remind them not to quit. So this whole experience has been really difficult for me, but through it, I've learned so much. I've learned that God has a plan even when it doesn't make sense. And I've just seen the amount of people I've been able to inspire, and that is such a blessing. It's like I don't have to go through this alone. I've got people praying for me, and I've got people to inspire, and it's such an honor and such a gift. This epilepsy isn't something that if I was asked, would you want it taken away completely and just be seizure free all your life and never have had any of these experiences? I would say no. I would not change a thing because I've seen the goodness that's come out of it. Although it's extremely hard, I would not be the man I am today without it, which I think is why adversity is so important. We're all going to go through in our lives. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it, but you can determine how you're going to respond to it. You can either let it break you or you can let it make you rise up above it. So that's what I'm just trying to do right now is just push through. And on the other side, if there is an other side of this, I can't wait to see where I'm at. I can't wait to see how many people I'm able to help because of it.
Because all this pain and suffering has made you into who you are, and you're self-aware enough to know that you would not let God take that all back because
Mm-hmm.
it's allowed you to inspire and help other people. And that's what it means to be
Mm-hmm.
truly a leader, truly
Yep.
resilient. And you're a symbol of resilience just by,
Thank you.
you're 20 years old, you're getting brain surgery, you're going through seizures, you've had skin issues, you've had feelings of insecurity and worthlessness. I'm sure your physical appearance definitely was different when you're dealing with the seizures, when you probably can't eat, you probably can't go to the gym. You're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with all these things, and yet you're finding a way to inspire and give others strength. And that is exactly what this is about. That's exactly what our generation needs is more people like you to take
Thank
all
you.
of that pain and suffering, that trauma, and you're not laying in your room, you're not hiding, you're talking and being authentic and vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
because you realize that that is what helps people. That's what's really gonna make a difference rather than just Nate portraying this image of like, yeah, I'm always jacked, I'm always looking good, life's great, like all the time. It's like, no, dude, like I'm struggling and this shit's
Yep.
hard. And you're
Mm-hmm.
still here and you're still rising up every day. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yep.
truly inspiring. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. And I tried the fake image of like acting like everything was okay, and like portraying myself like my body looking great despite my circumstances. Um, but once I just started being vulnerable, not only did my page start to grow, but I felt I could feel the realness in my heart, like it was like this was something that I was meant to do. Like I couldn't just continue to fake it anymore. My mind just wouldn't allow me to do that. And just seeing that I've been able to inspire people through that is truly incredible. I think a lot of people on social media, all these fitness influencers, I put quotations around that because all they're doing is putting a negative influence on you. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, I think all these influencers are afraid of looking imperfect, afraid of showing what their body looks like when it's not in perfect lighting, afraid of
Yeah.
showing how they're truly feeling inside. And because of that, like so many people just have this fake image. But when when I started being vulnerable, like everything started to change. I started getting more support. I started getting more like follows and all that, which it doesn't matter. Like that's not really what matters. It's the amount of impact that you have. But I've seen that I've been able to truly impact people, and I think that's why it's so important to share my story because looking perfect but showing this fake version of you helps nobody. Being real
Yeah, completely.
and showing imperfection is what actually does help people. I mean,
And
you're
look
not
how
going to be
much
like,
it's made a negative impact, because speaking from someone who's done
mm-hmm,
the fitness influence thing, thinking, the more jacked I get, the more I'll be able to help people, because then I'll get more followers and then I can finally like share my story. But it's
mm-hmm,
like you said, it's doing nothing good for anybody.
yeah,
It's just creating this fake image that's not real. I don't always
mm-hmm,
look amazing. I'm not perfect at all. Many
mm-hmm,
imperfections. But by sharing that with people, we're actually able to help more, because we're like saying
mm-hmm,
we're much more alike to you than you realize. Everyone is. And I just think that it needs to be talked about, like you're saying, in our generation. A lot of people have no idea that others really feel like this, and that I'm a person that definitely has experienced the
yeah,
insecurities from the social media, and that's something I want to change, and that's why I wanted to talk to you and wanted to build this brand, is because I want to be someone different that can be vulnerable and authentic and actually help people, rather than just my entire life being based off of my physical appearance, because
mm-hmm,
it's not fulfilling. It's an
mm-hmm,
empty black hole that you perceive as success and as
yes,
happiness, because everyone on social media seems like their life is great because of that, right? Like,
mm-hmm,
and you don't really know what's going
yeah.
on in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's just creating this false sense of happiness that like you see this on social media, you see the money, the cars, the girls, the jacked body. You're like, yes, this is it. And you get there, it's not. It's just such a
So
fake thing. And like you said, like it just wasn't fulfilling. Like for me, I just couldn't live like that. Like just sharing this lie of who I portrayed myself as. That's not real. Like
yeah.
I just couldn't imagine going any farther, just pretending to be somebody that I'm not. And I just seeing the effects from someone who, before I started sharing stuff on social media, before I was a content creator, I was the one who was consuming all of this and seeing all these jacked people on Instagram, TikTok, all that. I've experienced the negative effects of the stuff they're putting out. I have struggled with comparison, placing my value based on what I see on social media. And then I've been the one who's put out that stuff. I've been the same person, like, oh, look at how jacked I am. Look at how
Yeah.
perfect and
Both
cool
of
and
us.
great I
Yeah.
am. I've been on both sides of that. Neither side is doing well at all. Yes, one side may make money, they might get followers, but at what point can you continue to do that? Continue to
It's an
live this
endless
lie and
cycle,
continue to destroy?
right?
Yeah,
It's never going
it
to
won't
end.
make you happy. Yeah,
Both know it
absolutely.
doesn't. And both, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you've done a much better job of being authentic and being vulnerable. And I'm just embarking on that journey now, because, I've been the guy that's only
Mm-hmm.
posted things when I feel great or look great. And it's just created this distorted reality where it's not even real life anymore. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
endless pursuit of perfection, endless pursuit of, just, it's just not even real life. It's what happened to how we can treat other people and who we are on the inside, rather than just being solely judged based off of our external appearance. Like, what kind of life is that? Where all that matters is your external shell. It's an empty black hole. Our generation needs to understand that it's
Mm-hmm.
not
Well
fulfilling.
said. Well said. Yeah, it will never satisfy you. Never.
It's like, it's even more remarkable when you can look at other perspectives, because I'm sure, Nate going through all those seizures and maybe losing muscle, in your mind, you're like, I don't feel as confident. I'm worthless. I'm losing my image. But in reality, like, you're doing way more for people by no one's looking at you and going, this kid's not valuable. This kid's worthless because he's skinnier. They're looking at, holy shit, like, this kid is rising up, doing, like, through this extremely difficult circumstances. And he's
Mm-hmm.
giving strength and inspiration to others. That
Yep.
matters way more than what you look like. That matters. That actually changes people's lives. That does.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I mean, through my journey with epilepsy and all that, I've lost quite a bit of muscle. I've lost quite a bit of strength. And through that time, like if I had continued down the road of where I was mentally with my value physically, I would have been a wreck. I would have destroyed myself. I would have been just down in the dumps because I'm like, why? I mean, I just would have had no value based on what I was believing my value was from, which was my appearance and my
Yes.
strength. And coming to the realization that this really doesn't matter. Like my day-to-day life doesn't really change that much. I still look pretty good. Um, And even still, like, just realizing that it really doesn't matter that much has taken a lot of that pressure away. And I'm like, look, I'm doing the best I can. I'm showing up to the gym. May not be 6 days a week like I used to, but maybe now I can do 3 to 4 and I can push myself relatively hard. I give myself more credit. I don't beat myself up because I know what I'm going through. And I know just by showing up and doing the best I can for that day is all I can do. And because of that, I can accept that. I'm not judging myself as much for how I look. I'm more judging myself on the effort that I put in because I can't give 100% of what I used to be able to do. I just give 100% for what I have that day. And if you start to look at it as more of like respecting yourself and understanding, look, I'm not going to like magically get this 6 pack and be able to bench 315 out of nowhere like you see on social media. If you start looking at it as, look, all I can control is what I do today. I can't control tomorrow. I can't control what these other people look like. I can control the fact that I'm going to give 100% of what I have today. And if you do that, regardless of how you look, you'll respect yourself more. You'll place your value a lot less in how you look and a lot more in who you are as a person.
And I think through the social media, right, through the journey we embarked on, where we're like, I'm sure you had the same thought process. Like, if I get super jacked, I'll get a bunch of followers, then I'll make a bunch of money, and then my life will just be great. I think by the validation you get from the followers, it's created this comparison, which I think this is why there's so much insecurity with the imperfection, because you're worried so much about others' opinions. You're
Mm-hmm.
worried so much about seeking validation from others, seeking acceptance from others. And like you said, when you're going through all the seizure stuff, when you're going through all this stuff, you're realizing, wait, that stuff really doesn't matter in my day-to-day life. Like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm going through all this, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend time worrying about how other people think I look.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just such a skewed way to live that we all are living like we put so much time and effort and worry into how others perceive how we look and how we appear. And we focus less on what we're actually doing for others.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, dude, I just think that's why what you're doing is just so impactful. You're the one guy. You're the guy that's actually been able to say, screw that. I'm not going to spend all my time worrying about how others think about what I look like or about my appearance. I'm going to focus on sharing my vulnerabilities and my struggles to inspire other people.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I feel like it's my duty to do that, and I just want to continue to share that with people because where the fitness industry is at right now is just not going to work. It's terrible and it's destructive to so many people, and I'm so glad that more people are coming around to that.
Yeah. So this brand and this concept is more about the core of you. It's more about your inner resilience and the warrior within that you develop mentally. And we're not saying that going to the gym and getting stronger and looking great doesn't help you. It will. But we're saying that you cannot derive your self-worth and your significance through that alone, which a lot of us do. And it's caused Nate and I to experience depression, anxiety, insecurity, and feelings of worthlessness. And I think that you really hit it on the head, talking about how what you go through and what you're doing for others is really what's going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, why did you pursue fitness and what it means to you?
I started fitness when I was, I believe, 14 or 15 years old. Um, I grew up super undersized. I got into high school. I was the smallest kid in my entire high school class. I was like 5 foot, less than 100 pounds. And I just come off a really rough middle school experience because I was so small. I got picked on a lot. I actually got bullied really, really badly. Ended up switching middle schools and all of that. And I was always the smallest kid, and I hated that. And I wanted to finally be able to stand up for myself and build some confidence. So I started working out and immediately became obsessed. It became my everything. Like throughout high school, my Friday and Saturday nights weren't spent partying or drinking or anything like that. They were spent at the gym for 2 to 3 hours, which probably isn't optimal for gains, but I loved it. And it just became my everything. I was obsessed with growing and improving and getting stronger. And through my high school experience, I went from 95 pounds to over 195. And obviously I grew a couple inches too, but but It was just amazing. I just loved the feeling that I got from the gym, whether it was just the pump or the mental benefits, but just most importantly, just seeing my progress over time um, was just incredible. And I became obsessed with powerlifting, weightlifting, all the strength training my junior and senior year. And I ended up competing in the state championships my state my senior year. So fitness for me was just my outlet and became something that I was able to share with other people when I became my school's team captain for the weightlifting team in junior and senior year. And we set a school record for the amount of people we sent to states in my senior year. And I was honored to be a big part of that. So for me, fitness was just a personal outlet to build confidence. And then it became something that I could share with other people by helping them have the same growth that I did.
Tell us a little bit about what you felt inside about yourself and just about who you were before you started. Like, what did you feel? What made you feel drawn to start fitness? What were you feeling?
Mm, that's a great question. I was feeling just terrible about myself. I had no confidence. I was always the smallest kid, and although it wasn't the right thing to do, and it's something that I've struggled with a lot and I've grown through, I put a lot of my value in my external appearance. And because I was just so small and so skinny, I just felt worthless. And because I had gotten bullied in middle school, I felt like I couldn't stand up for myself. So I knew I had to put on some size. I knew that putting some muscle on would make me feel better about myself, but it would also make other people respect me more. So for me, before I lifted, I just didn't have any personal value in who I was because I never really accomplished anything physically. So by working out, I was able to have like a visual evidence of my hard work, but also give me the ability to stand up for myself like I couldn't before.
That's crazy because if I were to have answered that question, I would have said the exact same thing. It's
Yeah.
felt worthless, felt
Hmm.
insignificant, like you couldn't stand up for yourself. So through the gym and through developing strength within fitness,
Hmm.
you were able to build self-value and build strength to gain
Hmm.
confidence and then not only gain confidence, but to help other people.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's the
It's
whole point of all of it, of this of this
hmm.
whole of this whole project.
Yes. Yeah. What I love about the gym is, although yes, there are steroids and all that, you can't really cut corners to a certain point. There's so many things in life, especially at a young age. Everybody wants the easy way. They want to find the shortcut that gets them where they want as soon as possible. And with the gym, you can't cut corners there. You got to put in lots of work, and it's evidence of the discipline you put in. So being able to learn that at such a young age was so beneficial for me, and it also makes you stand out. Because like I said, when I was in high school, man, like I didn't go to parties or anything. I was just lifting, lifting, lifting. And because of that,
Yeah,
it paid
it's
off.
very
And I put
similar
on,
experience as me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that it teaches people so much. And it's like there's nothing quite like the gym for not only your physical development, but I think also for your mental.
Yeah, that's a great point that I would like to talk about. So
Mhm.
besides the external physical appearance that you have built through the gym, what do you feel like the gym has helped you with internally, to help you in other aspects of life? How has it made you different inside besides just,
Mhm.
building muscles?
Well, first off, I mean, we could talk short term. I think there's nothing quite like exercise for your mental health. There's a reason that exercise has been proven to be up to 1.5 times more effective for treating depression than an SSRI, which is an antidepressant pill. The benefits of exercise for your mental clarity, for your dopamine, your serotonin, your sleep, all of these things are correlated with your mental health. And for me, if I go a couple days without working out, man, I'm anxious. I have low energy. My sleep sucks. So just
Yeah.
short term, that those are the benefits of it. But long term, over time, I mean, like building confidence, being able to like stick up for myself and have a feeling of self worth came from the gym at first. I will say though, and I'm sure we're going to get into this more. I did develop because of my insecurities when I was so small, and then starting to lift. I placed all my value in my physical appearance and how much I lifted. I became obsessed with that, and I felt like I only mattered if I benched this amount or I weighed this amount, and if I didn't, I sucked, and I was worthless. So it can go to the other end. You can't place all of your value in that. I think the gym and taking care of yourself physically is a part of a holistic experience. And just doing that one thing is not going to make you happy.
I love how you talked about that because I've been through the exact same experience. And when you have dealt with insecurities and feelings of worthlessness, and then you embark upon this fitness journey, especially with social media,
Mm-hmm.
you do create all of your value and inner self-worth because of how you now look, right? It's
Mm,
given you that sense of confidence. So you relate that self-worth to how you look and what you do in the gym. And I think, that's the whole point of sharing these experiences so that we can help other kids know out there that they're not alone with feeling like that. There's a lot of guys that look great just like you that have struggled
mm-hmm.
with feelings of worthlessness, insecurity,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at you, you would never think those things. So it's
Mm-hmm.
remarkable that you're able to, share that vulnerability and be authentic about what you're experiencing with the journey of fitness and mental health.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, I think, and a lot of the people that I've met in the gym, I think a big group of people who work out are some of the most insecure people I've ever met, and it's sad. And I've been a part of that group. I've been a
Yeah,
part of that group
yeah.
because they're trying to make up for something they didn't have as a kid. Like for me, dude, I always wanted to be good at sports or be jacked or whatever, and I felt like that would satisfy me. And I got into the gym. I'm like, this will satisfy. This will satisfy me. Never really did. I mean, of course, getting in good shape will make you feel happy for a short term. It'll give you that little dopamine hit when you see that weight on the bar or those abs coming in. But over time, it doesn't satisfy you. There's still something missing there, and I think a lot of people miss that when they start on their fitness journey, as they think, oh, getting jacked is going to fix all my problems. I'm going to feel amazing, and I'm never
Yeah.
going to feel insecure anymore. You're really just like putting muscle on top of all of that insecurity you had, and
That's that's a crazy way to
you're
put
just
it.
hiding
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's like
That's remarkable.
there's no amount of muscle you can build in your pecs that's going to cover up a messed up heart. And the truth
Yeah.
is, it's just going to be deeper down in there, and you have to really bring that up. And for me, that's something I've had to do over the last couple years as I've done some self work, and realizing my value doesn't come from how I look. It's like I had so much damage from being bullied as a kid, and although now I know, like, if I weighed this much or whatever, I could stick up for that younger version of me, which is great. Like, there's still a lot of wounds that working out is not going to fix.
Can't express to you how similar of an experience that I've been through. Exactly what you're saying, and how there's so many other people out there, boys and girls, that are experiencing the same thing. You know, um, I think it'd be really cool if you could dive into a little bit about how the journey of social media has created
Mm-hmm.
those feelings for you about how us as a generation, the demographic of young 20-year-olds, place so much of their self-worth and value into their physical external appearance, and how as a generation we're losing sight of things like morals, values, your
Mm,
character, who you are, how you treat people. Like that's what makes Nate, not his muscles, like that's a part of you. But basically, I think, you're saying how you get jacked and all of a sudden you're going to feel perfect. You're going to feel great, which is how I felt. And that's what I think is so amazing about the journey, is that we're getting to a place where we can talk about how it
mm,
doesn't just bring everything
yeah.
together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to develop something internally,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, well said. I think social media, as you said, is just such a toxic part of this. And there's some great things about social media, like you and me get to share our story with the entire world, which is incredible. But the saying that I love about social media is that you, the consumer, is comparing your 100%, your everyday, everything you know about yourself to somebody else's highlight reel, the 1% of
Yeah.
their life. So it just creates a false sense of reality because you're going to see this guy whose abs are just like popping out, perfect lighting, perfect pump, looks like a Greek god. But in actuality, everyday life, no, he does not look like that.
Yeah.
He's flexing as hard as he can, all of that. But you're comparing yourself to that. Like, I look like this every day. Why don't I look like this? I'm worthless. I'm not working hard enough. And like, it's like, you just see that it just creates such an easy way to compare, which is very normal in our generation, is comparison to what you don't have. Humans are far more likely to look at what they don't have than what they do, which is why gratitude is so important. If you switch that out for gratitude, you compare yourself to your past self, you're going to be a lot happier than if you're just scrolling on social media. So social media can be very toxic with gym culture. And that's why I've stopped following pretty much all fitness influencers, because I mean, the only value they have is their body that they're showing, which, yes, they've worked hard for, and yes, I'm happy for them. But if that's all you're providing no value to me. You're just creating a potential for comparison, which is why I think it's so important to talk about these things, because um, our value is not defined by what we show on social media. Our value is what we can provide for other people. And if you're just showing your looks, that's not providing anything. So I think it's so important as men that are on social media to express the real us. Yes, we're not going to be able to show our 100% day-to-day lives, but by being real and like, look, this is what I look like in average lighting. I'm not that great. I'm not perfect. This is what this is what I'm feeling mentally. I can relate to you. Like, sharing those kind of things is so important. And we're not doing that enough on social media. And that's why I love to do that. And that's why I'm so glad that you're talking about these things, because it's not brought up enough on social media. Like, the amount of high schoolers that are like what I was, thinking that the gym is just going to satisfy them, but deep down they still got that void in their heart. And then they just go on social media and they see David Lade, who's just 6% body fat, perfect insertions, all that. And they see that and I'm like, man, I want to look like that. What do I got to do? And then they just go down this path where they just feel terrible. And then they hear potentially about steroids or something like that. And it just continues down that spiral. And it's so damaging. And that's why our conversation right now is so important, because if I can just help one guy who's in my position, who just wants to feel some form of self-worth and thinks the gym is going to solve that, true answer is no, it's not. It's a part of it. It's a big part of it. But you have to look far more deeply. And you also probably need to get off Instagram and unfollow all those fitness influencers that really provide nothing but negativity to your life.
You couldn't have said that any better, man. That's why I think I was so drawn to you and your experience, because I've experienced the exact thing of what you're talking about from the time that I was 12 with my Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and I've only shared a highlight reel. I've only shared my best pictures with the best lighting, thinking
Mm-hmm.
the more jacked I get, the better I look, the more followers I get, then I'll get a big sponsorship. I'll be like this David Lade echelon, and
Yeah.
now that I'm 23, it's been a decade,
Mm-hmm.
and all I've experienced, like, yes, you do have confidence from the physical appearance. It does add
Mm-hmm.
some value. But what we're trying to get at is that it's caused more damage than
Mm-hmm.
positivity, because it's made me feel like I always have to be perfect, like I can't be vulnerable, like I can only share my best moments. And what we're getting at is that we want to create something and work on something where that doesn't have to exist anymore, and to show our generation that we're not perfect and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well
Everybody's
said.
imperfect. We're human beings, and we need to learn to be vulnerable, and we need to learn to share our struggles so that other people don't feel alone, because I can guarantee you 90% of our generation feels that they need to be perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
I've falsely portrayed myself on my Instagram, um, I think stemming from what you said as a kid. Your self-worth becomes based off of your physical appearance, and it just goes down this spiral where it just
Mm-hmm.
grows and festers into, basically, I need more and more of this outer shell to get better and better for me to feel better inside. And from someone that's done exactly that, it's not solved everything. I still struggle with mental health, and I still
Yes.
struggle with insecurities, and I still struggle with my outer physical appearance wanting to be
Yep.
perfect. So I want to be more like you and share the authenticity and the vulnerability, because what you're doing is so much more beneficial than just saying, "Hey, look at me. I'm jacked and I look great." And, like, it's not doing anything for society. It's not doing
No.
anything to really make a change in others' lives, besides creating this narcissistic culture where
Yes.
all we care about is our self-image and how much validation we get. And that's so unfulfilling. It's so
Yes.
empty.
When you're on your deathbed, are you going to think about, man, I remember back in my day when I was 20 years old, I was 6% body fat and I could bench 315. No, you're not going to think about that. You're going to think about
No,
why did I waste my life obsessing over that? Why was I so focused on myself when I could have been helping other people? Because you're never going to find fulfillment obsessing over yourself. The human experience is not about that. The human experience is about expressing love and helping other people. And if you're just focusing
yes,
on you're going to be miserable. And that's why I think so many people that are focused on just helping other people they don't have all the things they may want, like the money or like the perfect looks or anything like that, but they're focused on helping other people. They're so much happier. So if you're looking for fulfillment from the gym, you're never going to find it. Of course, I think the gym is a key component to physical, mental, spiritual health. I think it's an absolute necessity, and it's changed my life in so many amazing ways, but it can't be your source of happiness.
it
And that's
can't
what
be
I'm
your
so
source of
glad
happiness. Yeah.
we're discussing this, and I'm so glad you're starting to share this on social media, because it needs to be talked about more. It's a huge issue that I see so many people falling into. That's going to make them self-obsessed and self-destruct.
Yeah, man, and that's why we're building this community. That's why we're building the Prodigy Project, because we want to create a community where you can go to, this platform you can go to, where you
Mm-hmm.
can see that you're not the only one struggling, and
Yep.
that you can relate and resonate with others your age and understand that people are struggling mentally.
Yes.
Lots of people are struggling. People that you think are perfect, people that you think have it all because of some social media or external appearance. And it's
Mm-hmm.
that's why people are suffering in our generation. That's why people
Yeah.
feel insecure, because they
Mm-hmm.
think that everyone is not dealing with things. But that's what's so powerful about you, Nate, and the story we're sharing is that the vulnerability that you're sharing on your Instagram of what you're going through is providing so much strength to other people, and that you're proving to the point that you don't need to be perfect, you don't need to have it all, and you can still inspire other people, you can still provide value, you can still give strength to others. And that's what this
Mm-hmm.
brand is about. It's about creating a community where what's on the inside is valuable and how you help other people is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yes,
what
that's
life's
that's
about.
100%. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. It's so important, and I don't think I think most people in our generation that grow up in this social media environment don't realize that, and they think the answer is just in more self-obsession, and it's
Yeah.
just an endless spiral that's never going to satisfy them.
Yeah, so I guess a way to summarize that for the audience is that your external appearance will never fully fulfill you. Social
Mm-hmm.
media is fake. If you look at my
Mm-hmm.
social media, I don't walk around looking like that all the time. My life
Mm-hmm.
is not a highlight reel. Nobody is always perfect. Most of the people that are always perfect on social media are on steroids, are taking something to
Yep.
be lean, to be shredded all year round. So what we're basically trying to say is that you're not alone. You're not struggling alone, and that no one is really perfect. People are struggling. Nate and I struggle. We all
Yep.
struggle, and we hope that by sharing, what's going on internally in our mind, you can resonate and relate to us, and you don't have to feel alone anymore. What does it mean to you to be resilient? What does the word resilience mean to Nate?
Resilience is the ability to respond to adversity correctly. Like I said, you can't control the circumstances that happen to you. You can only control your response to those circumstances. And I think if you're responding correctly to those circumstances, no matter how hard they may be, that's resilience. Resilience is the ability to not give up and push through, even if you see the light or don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just knowing that this is happening for a reason, and I can choose to use it to either help me grow or I can allow it to destroy me. So it's making that correct choice and continuing to push yourself through hard times. You're not going to develop a resilience. You're not going to develop strength, mental toughness, any of that without hard times. And resilience is just so key to having any strength in life. Without it, you're going to give up very, very easily. So resilience is one of the most important traits that anybody could have. And you're only going to get it through going through hard times. It's not an if, it's a when. And when that time comes, you better be ready to continue to push regardless of how hard it is.
And I think, especially relating to you, you said 6 medications, and most of the time it's two. I think that is the definition of your ability to be resilient, because most people would give up. Most people would just curl in a ball. But you're the type of kid. that's going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not working. They're
Mhm.
continuing to not working. But you're saying, I'm gonna keep standing tall. I'm gonna keep going through it.
Mhm.
I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep rising up. I'm gonna keep showing up, even if that means I'm doing sit-ups in the damn hospital. Like that
Yeah.
video I'll put up here. That's the video I found. That's the video I found you with. Was that I saw on the Explore page? This kid's in the hospital. He's doing sit-ups,
Mhm.
having induced seizures, and yeah, he's talking about being resilient. Badass. It's honorable. It's honorable, and it's inspiring. It's
I
awesome.
appreciate that, brother. Yeah, and I'm not saying like when we talk about this, like continue to push through the hard times. I'm not saying it's not okay to express your emotions because yes, it's very important. I mean, I give myself a little bit of time to feel it, feel a little bit sorry for myself for a little bit. Like this sucks. Oh, how am I gonna get through this? Yeah. Like I give myself time to feel bad about it. I will let myself vent all that, but then after like a 48-hour period, I'm like, all right, enough feeling sorry for myself. That's not going to change anything here. Time to get going. It's time to push through. So I think it's important to express your emotions because if you're not doing that, it's just only going to continue. Like you're just pushing it down. And eventually, if it's something you push down, it's eventually going to come back up. So resilience is not just being disconnected from your emotions, it's being connected to them, but also not letting yourself just give up because you can't do that. That's a non-negotiable. You can feel sorry for yourself for a little bit, but then you got to be like, all right, feeling sorry for myself isn't going to do anything. I got to do what's right for me, not the easy route. Taking the hard route, but being aware of how you feel through it. That's totally fine.
So channeling those emotions, that pain,
Mm-hmm.
into something like work ethic and drive. Channeling it.
Exactly. Yeah, if you can find the goodness in your circumstances, because there is always something good in that. You can find what am I going to get out of this? What happens after this? Like if you find that in your circumstances, instead of just looking at the bad, it's going to be a lot easier because look, if I'm just looking at, oh, I've got to do all this in the hospital, it's going to be a lot harder for me to be resilient. I'm going to get burnt out and I'm going to give up. I'm not going to do it. But if I look at what am I going to learn from this, I'm a lot more excited to do it. Excited because I'm not excited to go back to the hospital,
Of course.
but I am excited to see the man that I become from it. So that's finding the motivation to get through it. Sometimes it can be really difficult, but it is necessary.
Okay, so I really want you to tell me what you're really feeling inside, the emotions you're experiencing when you're in the hospital, going through those induced seizures, and then I want you to tell your audience a bit how you're using those emotions towards something positive and how you're building resilience through your experience.
Staying in the hospital and having an induced seizure after being sleep deprived and strapped to a bed for 4 days was the hardest thing I've ever experienced. I really had to dig deep into my resilience tool bag and really push myself through those hard times. If you don't have that strength inside, you don't have that mental toughness built up over time, it's going to be so easy to break, which is why it's so important to develop that during hard times. Those times are a gift because during those times you have to respond correctly. And if you're not, you're just going to continue to break. So during that time, I learned a lot about myself. I learned what I was capable of doing because you're only going to learn what your true capability is when you're pushed to that limit. So if you're just constantly doing things that you're comfortable doing, you're really not going to have to push yourself. But if you're pushed beyond what you believe you can, but you're forced to continue to go, your threshold is going to be so much higher. So that's what I learned through that. And then I also learned that my hard times are not only a gift for my own personal strength, more importantly, they're a gift that I can share with other people that are going through similar things. So by sharing my story and being vulnerable about my struggles, I've opened up to a lot of other people and that relate to me. Like I've seen people that are going through things far worse than me that like they can't walk or they have seizures like every single day. And I'm like, man, I am nowhere near the level of strength that these people are. It puts it in perspective and it makes me so grateful because if you continue to go on social media and you just see all these other people that have this perfect life that they portray, which isn't real at all, you're just going to feel miserable because the human brain is more likely to focus on what it doesn't have instead of what it does. But then if you switch your perspective and look at what other people do have that's far worse than you, such as severe cancer, inability to walk, seizures every day, it's going to put in perspective how good you have it. So if you want a real reality check, go to a children's hospital. I was stuck there when I was 6 years old for a couple of months. And even then, I had it nowhere near as bad as other people have it. So we all have our struggles in life, but I promise you, we also have so many good things that another person would kill to have. So having gratitude through those times was so important for me, and it can make someone feel so much more at peace despite their circumstances.
What are some of the emotions and things you experience right now mentally? Can you give us some insight into the mental health struggles that you experience?
Mentally, I struggle a lot with my self-worth. It comes from being bullied as a kid, especially in middle school, always feeling like I'm not good enough. And despite all of these things that I've accomplished per se, I still go back to this inner child doubt of I'm not good enough. I'm not going to succeed. All these people hate me. It just continues to go back to that. And I've had to do a lot of personal work on that, but that inner voice is always there. And what I've just had to do is continue to just make my inner child proud. I know if my inner child, the person that was bullied and wanted to kill himself, saw who I am today, he'd be blown away. And I have to remind myself of that. I'm making him proud, and I'm proving that inner doubt wrong every single day. So although it is really tough and it's something I've struggled a lot with, I've also learned that I do have value from my creator. I believe that God has placed me on this earth to do great things, and I'm only doing myself and him a disservice by telling myself that I'm not worthy of the things that he's giving me. So I've had to do some affirmations. I've had to do some deep work on who I was as a kid. But through that, I am growing through my big insecurity of not feeling good enough, which I think is so common, especially among people that want to be successful. It's just more and more and more. Maybe then I'll feel good. Maybe then I'll have enough success to make myself feel worth it. The truth is, it's never enough. You have to find it through actually going back deep into your childhood and deep into the lies that the devil tells us. And through that, I've started to find fulfillment. Even though it's still a struggle, I've grown a lot through it. For years, I've been stuck into the cycle of when I have this amount of money, when I have this amount of success, when I have this amount of muscle, then I'll feel good enough. And as soon as I get there, it just doesn't feel good. It's on to the next thing. You're never satisfied doing these things externally, whether it's to get validation from somebody else or to finally feel value inside. None of these things are going to satisfy that. You have to find that validation internally, because all of these things that you look at on social media that may look amazing will not satisfy you. For me, I find that validation from my belief in Jesus. I believe that he has died for me, and then because of that, I'm able to have a relationship with him, and he loves me regardless of all the bad or good things I've done. My value doesn't change because of that. And through learning those things, I've been so much more at peace, because my value does not come from all these things externally, regardless of how good or bad I may look. It all comes from my peace within.
Nate and I will be doing an episode 2 where we dive deeper into our personal life experiences and answer some of the questions that you guys have down in the comment section below. We hope that through this conversation, you guys have gained valuable insights to turn the page and develop resilience in whatever it is you are going through. At the end of every episode, we always restate our mission statement and the purpose of what it means to be a part of the Prodigy Project. I'm a warrior, a symbol of intense passion and extreme resiliency. I stand high, driven by a purpose to better the lives of those around me and inspire a new generation. My character is defined by discipline, integrity, and honor. I embrace the darkness and rise above it. The Prodigy Project. Thank you guys for tuning in. We look forward to sharing with you episode 3.